Hi, I'm Doug Jessup.
And I'm Nisha DeGaring. Welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us who we are. Things like traditions, values, and culture.
How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through deeds, through words, through stories. If stories aren't passed down from generation to generation, they're lost. And it's as though those people never existed.
In this episode of Family Heritage Stories, people share those stories about special connections.
We all benefit from heroes among us. Now, they're going to say, it's just part of the job. But it's more than that. It's time for Hero Salute Stories. Jeff, there's a little feature that we have in the show called Hero Salute Stories. And usually it's about people that are doing things that they don't think they're heroes. They just say, it's just doing part of my job. And you have someone in your family that definitely fits the bill. You know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
So, my dad's cousin, his name was Ronald Manfred Wood, and Ron Wood was actually killed in the line of duty in 2002. He was a police officer. He actually has a park out in West Jordan named after him. I would trade the naming of the park to have Ron back any day of the week. But Ron was just so exuberant and so happy to be a police officer. I mean, he loved. I remember one time I happened to just by chance go into a supermarket where I was working, and there was a police station in this Smith's at the time, and he was there and he recognized me and he said, "Oh, come here. Let's go out to my patrol car." And he was so excited to be a police officer. He just loved it. He showed me all the gadgets, and we were looking up people in the computer and everything. He was trying to give me somebody who you think might have dirt on him or something like that. And we looked up a few people and we found some things that I didn't know about, and discovered, oh, that person might kind of has a warrant or something like that, that anyway. So it was fun. He just loved being a police officer. I know I've heard stories of him with, friends of his, setting up on a busy road with a cop car and the radar and just getting a kick out of people slamming on their brakes as they come up over, a hill or something like that. And he loved every aspect of it. And that's what he wanted to do. He was so excited when he did finally become a police officer. And so, I mean, bittersweet. He died doing what he loved, we would love to have him back, obviously. And I remember the day getting the call that there was a young man who had made some life choices and robbed a store, and was 17-year-old kid that was fleeing, and he happened to be patrolling the neighborhood that the young man was in, and recognized his description and tried to stop him, and the young man took off, and he left in a foot pursuit after him and went into an open field, and the young man ducked behind a fence there as Ron ran into the field and was looking around, and he was shot in the back of the head, and then was life flighted from that field up to the hospital and passed away later at the hospital. So I remember being in college and getting that call from my mom and saying, "Hey, Ron got shot, watch the news," and just watching the news and just breaking down, with friends there. And it was a rough day. I mean, it was a rough week and months afterwards, but just the outpouring of love from the community. And I think at the time there was a Utah senator actually helped to bring his wife's parents who lived in the Philippines over to reunite them to be here during her time of grief. And that funeral was very poignant. Watching the 3 helicopters fly overhead with one of them veering off and in honor of symbolic of a fallen soldier, or hearing the Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, or the hardest was actually the last call on the police radios, being surrounded by police radios and hearing his badge number being called, and the drive-bys with all of the police force that had come from all over the country to honor him, and then the flag, of course, being presented to his widow. And so we miss Ron. He was a great guy. A month and a half before, about 2 months before this whole thing happened, I had just been playing volleyball with him at a family reunion, and so just it was a big shock, when that happened. But his mother actually at the funeral reminded everybody that because the young man ended up shooting himself later on and taking his own life, and that was unfortunate too. And so I remember my aunt reminding everybody that 2 sons had been lost that day, and unfortunately, it was hard for both families, and they immediately, they said, look, that we forgive. There's nothing, no hard feelings towards the parents of that young man. He had made some choices, and I like to think that Ron had, been with him on the other side and helped him kind of reflect upon his life.
Hero Salute stories are made possible by the generous support of viewers like you. Go to fedorafoundation.org to donate today.
In this episode of Family Heritage Stories, Carol Stone shares stories about her special connections.
Recently, I did a bunch of interviews with some veterans from a very special unit, the 159th Medical Evacuation Group called Dust Off, served in Vietnam. What is the value and the power of a story? Ask Mara.
It's priceless. It's priceless to me because when I was first sitting with the guys listening to their stories, it's something you just can't get back. And there's a lot of stories I wish I would have had recorded from my dad, my mom, my grandparents. So at least we were able to get these stories.
Traditions, values, culture.
These stories deserve to be remembered with an in-studio interview.
We take out the bloopers, add in your pictures, and give you a digital video to keep.
For pricing and to schedule your interview with either me or Nisha, go to FamilyHeritageStories.com. There's a special bond between grandparents and grandkids.
Tell me a story about your grandma or grandpa.
I'm a grandpa, and I want to make sure that our kids and our grandkids know our stories and vice versa.
Okay.
Okay? So you get to pick and choose. I don't care.
Okay.
But tell me a story about one of your grandmas or grandpas.
Oh, goodness gracious. My grandpa came here not speaking a word of English. He only spoke Russian. He came through the underground, through Vancouver, across the country, ultimately ended up owning his own hat company, Millinery.
And they smell delicious.
What part of Russia?
Probably near Ukraine.
I'm Jeff Wood. You're watching Family Heritage Stories, and we'll be right back.
Michelle Sala. Did you hear about the fire that broke out at the circus? It was intense. Did you hear about the guy who invented the lifesaver? I heard he made a mint. Do you know how you catch a squirrel? You climb up a tree and act like a nut.
Hey.
What does heritage mean to you? Let's talk about your dad for just a second.
Uh,
What did you just hand me a little bit ago?
uh, my dad,
Yeah. Bob Stone.
yeah,
What was he like?
he was a force, and he could fix anything. Um, at his memorial, it was amazing to hear how many people he taught how to water ski.
Well, he can slalom ski. I can see that
Yeah,
on the front.
he was a good skier. But when he first taught us to ski, he didn't know how. And we didn't have a boat, but Dad would, he was super mechanical, and he would repair people's boats, and then we got to take it on vacation. So we had a boat to go
He
behind.
had a system. He had it
Yeah,
all figured out.
yeah.
I love you having here Dad's favorite lines. Look at all that green grass, blue sky. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. That's when he was into Alzheimer's. He was pretty not expressive until he was becoming less editing of social behaviors. And we had so much fun when he was sick. I mean, he became a warm
A
fuzzy.
new side of him opened up.
Oh, yeah.
A new part of his personality.
Yep. And I enjoyed it a lot.
So you say your dad liked to take puzzles apart. He'd wear long sleeves in 100-degree weather and sit in the sun.
Yep.
He had a twinkle in his blue eyes and always a big smile when he saw you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you Daddy's girl?
I think so. And I think my brother would say so. Yeah.
Who was the disciplinarian in the family?
Oh, they
Mom,
both were.
mom or dad? Mom
But-
and dad.
Yeah. But wait until your dad gets home if it was really bad. And he would give my brother spankings, but all he had to do was look at me and say, Carol. And I just, I'm
dissolved.
sorry. Yeah, totally.
Tell me about Mom.
Mom and I had a bit of a difficult relationship, but now that I am an adult, I and appreciate her and her skills. I mean, the woman was incredible. I brought
What's that?
this is a bar stool cover. We got the drafting stools from the high school when they had a sale. And Mom would go out and buy wool coats at yard sales, and she'd wash them and strip them and sew them together. And she made the bar stool covers, but she also made 2 area rugs, like a 9 by 13 area rug.
That's stiff. Those aren't easy to put together
No,
or work with.
no. And, they wear. They
Oh,
wear like
things like that
a
last
like that.
and last.
Right. And that's because they couldn't afford carpeting for the cabin. And so she made it. And she learned some of that from my grandmother. And I have this thing for
Oh, is
granny
this from grandmother?
Yeah, this is my mother's mother. And, scraps of yarn. And granny squares have become so much more attractive in colors. I mean, this was leftovers. You don't throw them away. But I have a thing for granny squares.
All right, let's jump to grandma because that's what you're talking about. Tell me a story about your grandmother. Either one.
Well, they were both very different and had different roles in my life. We were close to my mom's family because we were in the same town. My dad's family was hundreds of miles away in Northern California, and we saw them maybe every 5 years for a family reunion. And they were fun, and I loved them, and it was great. But I know in thinking about what they cooked, my grandmother Gordon, Mom's mom, had diabetes, and she had a sugar thing. And she had to be sure we had lots of sugar. And she'd always bake our favorite pies if we were coming over.
Did you love that as a kid?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, there were 4 grandchildren instead of the 35 on the other side. And we got a lot of one-on-one attention from her. She was very loving. She was very strong in her faith. Uh, Grandpa drove and took her to, um, come on, Carol, Catholic Church. What do you go? The service anyway on Sundays. Um, and he would take me to the beach and I'd go looking for rocks and seashells and he'd buy me a cotton candy. And then we'd go back to get Grandma at church.
Have you ever wondered how an object becomes important enough to be passed down from generation to generation? Well, later in the show, we share one of our viewers' treasures remembered.
Your history is everywhere, if you know where to look. But searching through all this? Are you kidding me? Actually, Kindex makes it easy to gather records and add them to your online archive. So everyone can jump in and index their records, making every word searchable. With Kindex, I know them anyway.
Hello, I'm Carol Stone, and you're watching Family Heritage Stories.
My experience of being interviewed by Doug is one of friendship. Doug puts you at ease. He asks questions that probes your thinking and makes you want to come up with and tell the stories that you have heard all your life or has personally happened to you. So there's different angles that Doug can take, and he's really good at it. He puts you at ease, and it's just like you're talking to a friend. So it's actually a very good experience.
Family Heritage Stories exist to give you ideas and examples of stories from the past to help shape the future.
It could be anything like a recipe from Grandma or a vacation location where your ancestors came from. These stories deserve to be passed down.
The power of stories is amazing. The power to connect generations through stories. Wow. Please learn the stories of your grandparents and then in turn pass those down to your grandchildren. Because as Deanne Jensen said,
when they're gone, they're gone. And then you wish I had asked her what life was like and how she got through.
For Family Heritage Stories, I'm Doug Jessup.
You learn a lot about traditions, values, and culture when you travel.
Hi there, my name is Francesco Grasso, and I'm the hotel general manager on board the Island Princess. Today, with in simultaneous motion with the rest of the fleet, all 16 ships, Princess Cruises, we are trying to set a new world record for a pizza party. So at 6 o'clock here, at 12 noon in Alaska, at 10 p.m. in Europe, even at 1 a.m. in Japan. All guests, majority of our guests, those that want to attend on our ships, will be participating in the party. The party lasts half an hour, so we want to set this new record, see how many people will be partying, having 2 slices of pizza during the 30 minutes.
2 slices. Now, of course, the best party on all the ships has got to be, if it's a pizza party, it's got to be hosted by somebody from
Napoli.
Napoli! Yeah!
And also,
I love it.
I'm from Napoli.
Italy.
No, Napoli. You know, Napoli is the place where the pizza has no equal. You know, the best pizza in the world is in Napoli.
Okay, and on the Princess.
Obviously.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you will have a taste now. Are you?
Oh yeah, cruises. You've been on a lot of cruises. What's your favorite destination?
Depends what you want to do. I mean, if you wanna have a nice, relaxing sea holiday, sun, beaches, music, cocktail, probably the South Pacific is. But then with the diving as well. But then you want to do a cultural sort of trip. Europe is the best probably. There's so much history, so many ancient culture around all the Mediterranean that you get lost into, you know, from the Romans to the Greek to the Turks to on the northern part of Africa with the Carthaginian. So it's a really, I mean, it's not an effect, it's called the whole continent, yes, because it's a thousand year history.
Well, the name of the show is Family Heritage Stories.
Ah, good,
okay?
good, yeah.
And you learn a lot about traditions and values and culture when you travel.
Yeah, heritage is about who we are, I believe, you know. It's all up here.
Objects with stories are treasures remembered.
Alana Schwab from Banbury, Connecticut, sent me these pictures and the story behind her Russian samovar. Samovars became popular as a source of accessible hot water and for warmth from the bitter Russian winters. When Alana's great-great-grandmother and her family from Minsk, Belarus, were fleeing the Cossacks in the late 1800s and trying to get to America, they hid this samovar in a blanket and disguised it as a baby. They arrived in New York and settled in Milwaukee. This tea server with the Russian writing has been passed down and was given to Alana by her mother. Everyone has a story. Objects with stories are treasures remembered. Do you know the song?
Do I know the song? The Love Boat song?
Yes, the Love Boat song.
Of course I know the Love Boat song.
Okay, well, you need to get some of your people around here
to sing the
Love
song.
Boat song with us.
Oh, of course. All right, all right.
Okay. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah?
The Love Boat.
Are you ready, guys? Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. The Love Boat. Exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you.
I know you get asked this question a lot, but what's your favorite place to cruise?
Oh, my favorite place to cruise? Do you know what? I don't think it matters anywhere we cruise as long as we're on a beautiful Princess cruise ship. That's my answer.
Corporate will love you. Broadcasting from the Island Princess, I'm Doug Jessup with
Cruise Director Aaron Mack.
And you're watching Family Heritage Stories. We'll be right back.
Love's exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you. The Love Boat promises something for everyone. Set a course for adventure, your mind on a new romance. It's love. Welcome aboard, it's love.
Everyone has a story.
And sometimes those stories are told through music.
makes you smile. Spry Natural Xylitol mints make me smile. I think it might help you too.
It's our honor to be able to help people remember where they came from.
The Fedora Foundation supports the collection, preservation, and distribution of diverse stories of traditions, values, and culture through Family Heritage Stories, on TV and online at familyheritagestories.org.
How do you want to be remembered? With another episode of Family Heritage Stories, I'm Nisha Dagari.
And I'm Doug Jessup.